Corporations are spending billions of dollars a year targeting the various segments of small business. You see them in advertising, in magazines, and newspapers, on television. They sponsor events. They send you newsletters. And whether it's local, regional, or national, there's money that's being put into the system. And I know, again, I was at Inc. magazine, Entrepreneur, the Wall Street Journal, and I had my own company. And we spent a lot of time chasing those dollars. And I work with great organizations too who ask the same question: how do we get involved in that? They're talking to our members, our constituents, our followers, our listeners, our viewers. How do we play a role in that? So that's hopefully what we're going to find out today. How you, as a small business organization or academia or a small business owner yourself who serves other small business owners, how can you go to corporations and tap into their budgets, and whether it's local, regional, or national. So why don't we? I don't want to stand over. I'm going to join you guys over there. With the introduction, what I'd like to do is we have an esteemed panel right now of leaders from various organizations. What I'd like to do is have you introduce yourselves briefly. I think we have about 35 or so, 40 minutes to talk, and that includes Q&A. So let's talk a little bit about what we'd like to know is, what are some of the programs that you have right now in place? Where you're from, tell us the programs that you have in place and how those programs were set up. You don't have to tell us all of them, maybe some of the more prominent programs. So Ben, why don't we start with you?
Oh, thank you. Yes, my name is Ben Stone. I'm the Director of Small Business and Startup Development at American Express Open. And I think maybe I'll start by just giving a quick background as to why I'm here and the context of why I'm working at Open. So I actually graduated college and went to law school and became a boring, pretty dorky corporate lawyer for a few years. And then with a buddy of mine from college who also was a corporate lawyer, we, for a variety of reasons, decided to start a social enterprise called Indigo Africa. And what Indigo Africa did and does is partner with now more than 500 women entrepreneur artisans in Rwanda who are set up as their own women-owned small businesses and help them design, market, export, sell a wide variety of accessories and home decor to major brands like J. Crew, Nicole Miller. And then what Indigo Africa does that's truly innovative is uses the revenue to cover all our all of our costs of goods sold, so fair trade, wages to the women, everything else like that. Pools the rest of it with donations and uses that money to fund training programs that we developed for those same women in business management, entrepreneurship, literacy, and computers, with the real idea of not only opening up access to markets, which is crucial, but layering on the information, skills, and confidence so these women can be interacting and engaging the global markets on their own terms and as independent, empowered businesswomen. So that's what I've done for the last 5 years. And as my buddy and I were looking to move on, now that we've got other leaders who can take Indigo to even greater heights without us, I was looking to figure out what I wanted to do next, and I really am passionate about this conversation going on at the intersection between social impact and business. And it's really not only the power of business to drive social impact, but the power of social impact to drive business. And so I became aware of American Express Open, and American Express Open is a large business unit of American Express that focuses on creating products and services to, and the mission statement is to help small businesses do more business. And the first time I heard that, I was like, yes, that makes sense. That's where I want to be. And it's really reflected in a number of programs that American Express is doing right now, from Small Business Saturday, which has started small and then has become a huge nationwide initiative, including a bipartisan resolution to make it an actual national holiday or a national recognized day, to Open Forum, which is an online resource where entrepreneurs and small business owners can go to find videos, educational resources, toolkits, lots of ways to also connect with their compatriots. And then so what I'm doing is a mixture of everything, but the way I look at it is that what I'm running is American Express Open's boots on the ground social innovation programs with a real focus on women and the power of women to drive the economy these days. Government contracting, the government is the largest customer in the United States, spent $500 billion on products and services last year, mandated by law to give 23% to small businesses and at least 5% to women-owned businesses. And then finally, really getting open more into the entrepreneurship and youth entrepreneurship and startup field. So that's what I do. I'm having a blast. I've been there for 2 months, and I'm looking forward to more of this conversation.
Fantastic. Thank you. Bryan?
Great, thanks. Good afternoon. Bryan Pearce. I'm a partner at Ernst & Young, based in Boston, and I run the Entrepreneur of the Year program and other entrepreneurship initiatives that we do throughout the Americas. 26 years ago, two of my partners at the time in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, of all places, in an economy very much like we have today, said, you know, we need to do something to thank and recognize the entrepreneurs that get up every morning, go to work, and build great companies, put people to jobs, and innovate and grow their economy. So they created the Entrepreneur of the Year Awards program. It was a dinner in Milwaukee. Today, we're in 26 markets across the U.S., and we had 13,000 people at our galas last June there to honor entrepreneurs, and we're in over 50 countries around the world and adding a handful or so each year with the goal of ultimately having the recognition of entrepreneurs wherever they live around the world. I think what's in it for the entrepreneurs, small business, high growth, innovative companies, are a few things really. One of all is recognition, and as I mentioned to some folks yesterday, being an entrepreneur, and I'm not telling most of you in this room anything new, can be a lonely job. And sometimes, you kind of don't really know who to talk to. You can't talk to your employees about some of the issues. Maybe your family doesn't really get it. Certainly you can't talk to your customers about your complaints. So it's kind of a lonely job. And what we tried to do was bring together this community of entrepreneurs that could be recognized for what they do, could sort of meet other peer groups of high growth entrepreneurs, network with each other, learn from each other. They could use that experience of being honored to be able to reflect that back on their teams, because we know that that entrepreneur that starts with vision and wants to create their business, that vision becomes their passion, and the passion then spills over to their teams. So they use it to reflect back on their teams, and certainly we also know that the entrepreneurs that go through the program are passionate about public policy, and they're passionate about giving back to their communities. In fact, they give back at twice the rate of what their corporate counterparts do. So that's kind of the Entrepreneur of the Year community, and hopefully we can dig a little bit deeper on that, recognizing, much as Open did, the importance of women in the entrepreneurial ecosystem. 5 years ago, we started a companion program to that, which is not only an awards program, but also a mentoring and educational program called Entrepreneurial Winning Women. We've had some absolutely outstanding female entrepreneurs go through that program, and they continue to get together each year at places like Babson for additional training, and certainly the networking opportunities that come along with that. And then each year in November, we have a major conference for CEOs and entrepreneurs called the Strategic Growth Forum, which culminates with the celebration of the National Entrepreneur of the Year winners for the U.S., and that's coming up in about 45 days. So that's kind of our role relative to entrepreneurship, and we partner with a lot of great organizations that are building sort of emerging entrepreneurial families, Nifty being one of them, and Steve and others are here. You heard from Rodney this morning, who's one of their great success stories within Nifty. We do a lot of work elsewhere in the Americas with an organization known as Endeavor. And then sort of as you get broader around the world, work very closely with people like the G20 Young Entrepreneurship Summit. And most recently, we've been named the knowledge provider on entrepreneurship to the World Economic Forum. So working with these Entrepreneur of the Year companies really helps us to understand the ecosystem well, and then make sure that that's getting rolled out in a helpful way to other communities.
Fantastic. Mark?
Hi, I'm Mark Drapeau. I'm with Microsoft here in Washington, D.C. A lot of people are surprised to know that Microsoft has about 1,000 or so employees in the D.C. region in 6 different facilities. We have all of our public sector and civic sector business based here. That's our government stuff, politics, education, health, and nonprofit work. It won't surprise you to know that Microsoft cares a good deal about small businesses and other things happening in the realms of science, technology, and education. All these things are important to our long-term success and the success of all of our business partners. And besides being big partners with organizations like Nifty, like Year Up, like Startup America that do what they do for the startup and small business communities, we have two big things that I think you should know about. The first thing is called BizSpark, B-I-Z Spark. It's a program that's been around for perhaps 3 years or so, and about 45,000 companies around the world have taken advantage of BizSpark. And basically, if you don't have many employees and you don't make much revenue yet, and you haven't been in existence for 3 years yet, you can get a lot of free software and services from Microsoft. And that includes cloud computing stuff, it includes developer tools, it includes other online and offline support. And basically it's a gift because we think that building a strong community of people building businesses in science and technology helps us and it helps our whole industry. Microsoft has something on the order of 700,000 business partners around the world and something like 150,000 business partners in the United States. And a lot of those are startups and small businesses. They're not all Dell and Best Buy and other companies like that. But there are a lot of companies that you haven't necessarily heard of that modify our software, that sell our things or resell our things, and that make apps for our platforms like Windows and other things like that. So of course, we're very interested in people that make apps or people that have highly technical companies. A second kind of company that I think is really interesting to us, especially in Washington, D.C., is what people typically call now a B corporation, corporations that are set up to sort of maximize societal change or maximize public good. I was recently at a company called Pearce, just like it sounds, purpose.com in New York, and they create progressive social movements around the world. And they've partnered up with Google and GE and Audi to do a variety of different things that are pretty cool. But they're a for-profit, and they're also eligible for BizSpark and other things we do. The second big thing is something that we announced a week or two ago called YouthSpark. And YouthSpark combines a lot of things that we are already doing under disparate headings, but essentially it is now Microsoft's global, all-up philanthropic endeavor to help empower 300 million kids around the world in 100 countries or more during the next 3 years to get a better education, to help find a job, and or to start their own business. And that includes a whole variety of activities that I can't even begin to get into now, but you can easily find information about YouthSpark online. And certainly we are going to do a lot with YouthSpark in the United States. And that isn't just philanthropy per se, but it also, again, helps create the next generation of workers, of technologists, of highly educated folks that can work for Microsoft, work in our industry, work for our partners, and start the next generation of companies to make apps for Windows 10 or 11 or whatever we come out with 10 years from now. So I'll stop there.
Hal.
Hi, I'm Hal Halladay from Infusionsoft, Senior Vice President over Corporate Development. And as you can, apparently, I guess I'm not like the rest of you in some ways. Let's start with, I didn't plan that, but
You're comfortable, you get to.
yes, exactly. I realized that as I walked up. I knew going in I was a little different because Infusionsoft would aspire to be a great company like these folks. Infusionsoft is a cloud computing solution for true small businesses under 50 employees. It's sales and marketing software to help them grow their business and find, get, and keep customers. We have about 320 employees, but we've added 160 this year. So we are rapidly growing, and part of that is the great market that is small business. We have 10,000 customers and about 40,000 users. We are building our business through partnerships, and that's my role, is finding the folks that serve small businesses as an organization or as a business. And I've had some amazing conversations today with several of those organizations. We a couple of years ago weren't really on the map, but it's rapidly growing now, and we are a venture-backed company that's on a Series C round right now. So we're starting to reach out to all those important organizations like SCORE. We've got a couple of customers here. DoSomething.org is a customer, and Yannick Silver, Maverick 1000 is a customer. And we partner with, we have partnered traditionally with folks that were in the education or info market serving small businesses, teaching them, folks like Dan Kennedy or Michael Gerber, who are teaching seminars and workshops for small business, and we've partnered with them. Now we're reaching out to the organizations like SCORE and the SBA and other Association for Small Businesses and Self-Employed, those types of organizations, as well as partners. Had a great conversation with Jason earlier today about some of those opportunities. So we are actively looking for those opportunities and just starting to crack this market, and hope to be a much bigger company. And who knows, one day, a couple of years from now, I'll show up at the Impact wearing a suit. It's possible.
Great. Well, first off, my name is Jason Oshiokpekhai. I'm with American Airlines. You'll notice that there's a lot of seats here that are empty. This is exactly what we don't want on our aircraft. We want every single seat full. That's number one. Number two is, and this will kind of touch a little bit on my comments, is that American wants to support the next great business. And part of my opening remarks will be a little bit of context. For a long time, American Airlines has looked at the world really in kind of two ways, leisure and corporate. Leisure is you go to Hawaii, Aruba, Antigua, Paris, with your loved one. Corporate, we're really talking about the top 1,000 companies in the world that spend anywhere from $1 million a year to north of $100 million. So obviously, corporate revenue is the lifeblood of our company. One of the painful lessons we learned in 2008 and 2009 was that corporate revenue dropped by 40%. As we internally like to call it, that was our Mayday moment. And I think it was from that point that became really the genesis of business development. We, as a company, needed to figure out a way to diversify our income stream and not be so reliant on the top corporations and then obviously leisure. So from that, we decided that we wanted to become very active in the small and medium enterprise space, which obviously, as you know, is a very large market. But even within that market, we realized, well, we want to be even more special. How can we drive even more value? The current administration, I'm sure the incoming administration is going to talk about what? Job creation, job growth. Now, obviously, American Airlines has been in the newspaper for, I would argue for the wrong reasons. But I can tell you that despite our short-term challenges, we're going to emerge obviously much stronger. But really, it's going to be finding out who is our next best customer and really asking the question, what can we as an organization do to support that next best customer? So I'm very happy to report that our company is taking a very serious step forward, and we're actually going to start making investments in small businesses. Now, I know the minute I say that, I get well, are you talking about equity and what's the valuation? I think that's kind of down the road. If I told you that our team was formed not even a couple of months ago, we have been thinking about this for the last year. But let me ask you this question. If American Airlines took 500 companies, small businesses, startups, entrepreneurs, accelerators, and gave them the ability to travel for free for a year, how does that change their business? I think that there is a compelling argument to be made that could be a watershed event. Because instead of worrying about the price of the ticket, you're worried about finding your next best customer, your next best investor, your next best partner. So, the reason why I'm here, and I'm here with our director for our B2B businesses, is really, number one, to come here very humbly and say that, how can we help you? I know that air travel is not necessarily essential to your business, but I would argue that there's other ways that we can help you as well. Because the other thing that American Airlines wants to be is an aggregator and a connector. We obviously do that as a core part of our business, but imagine the ability to come to American and say, hey, American, I'm looking to meet these types of partnerships. Maybe there's a way that we can facilitate that. So I think every time I read or I hear people say, oh, the airline industry is a commodity, I would argue that we're making the world a little bit smaller. And hopefully we can bring a lot more value and success to each and every one of your businesses, both on the profit and nonprofit side.
So Jason, as a new business owner, I will take you up on your offer, and I'll have a full report to you a year from now. How does that sound? Okay, well, you know, in looking out at the audience, what I see are a lot of business owners and educators and small business organizations that deal at the local and regional level, right, as well as national. But I want to focus a little bit on the local and regional. A lot of times you hear corporate social responsibility. You know, a large organization is going to put some money towards a program or an event and really expect no kind of ROI back on it. Well, now Michael Porter from Harvard's come out with shared value, right? Corporate shared value, and that's where, okay, you know, we're investing our own money, but we'd like to see some kind of return on it, and that's okay. I think everybody in this audience would love to participate in a corporate shared value program. Mm-hmm. So what do you do at the local or regional level that they can get involved in? And what and I'll speak for many of the people in this room, what they're looking for is money, right? So they have initiatives that they're putting together for their members or their people who are involved in their programs, and a lot of times they're looking for funding in that. You're trying to reach the same members, and what they're saying is, hey, how do we work together at a local or a regional level and create a win-win situation? So anyone, tell us how you did it. Tell us an example.
I mean, where we are as a company, we have to start looking for the long term, right? And we intimately understand that our long-term success is the success of small businesses. If you looked at American Airlines' revenue performance in the last probably 24 months, the fastest growing sector is small business. So I don't think you need an MBA to realize that this is a place that we need to kind of spend a lot more attention. I think to the question of support on the regional and kind of local level, what we've been doing is we've been making strategic investments in accelerators and incubators. Again, we are still very much on the learn side of it, so we're still kind of learning while doing, and we're developing a network of really people and organizations that understand that space a lot more than we do today. But I've seen a lot of great success stories where, in addition to obviously a cash investment, which is a little bit tough when we're in restructuring, but really the ability to travel. And the third piece is using our media assets as a way of creating awareness. I think a lot of regional and local organizations, what's their biggest challenge? People really don't know about them. And if we can leverage kind of from a large corporation standpoint, some of our media assets, our Twitter, our Facebook, AA.com, for example, that drives a tremendous amount of awareness that, it's hard to kind of put a number to it. Antonio speaks about the whole notion of using unused media as a form of currency. Really, I think currency kind of takes on a different meaning for us as well. Mm-hmm. Where, if I give you $50,000, is that going to change your life? Versus if I brought you 93 million potential customers.
Right. Now, do you, and this is again to everybody, do you, with that kind of opportunity, I imagine people are knocking down your door, right? But how do they find out about it? Are you utilizing social media to get the word out? Hey, we're in these markets right now actively seeking small business partners for this type of program.
And so let me give you an example. Microsoft, in partnership with Startup America, as it happens, is on the verge of launching something that we're calling a digital think and act tank for reinventing America's institutions. And this is something I've worked on along with a few other folks. And what it is really is a forum where people can come together and talk about ideas about businesses or new enterprises of different kinds to reinvent governance to some degree, or reimagine education to some degree, or whatever the particular problem is. And there's a bunch of different niches you can specialize in, if you will. And the problem that we think is out there to some degree in the United States is that a lot of people have great ideas and they have one piece of the puzzle, but they don't know how to connect to a meetup group that can help teach them something, or they don't know how to find a technical co-founder, or they don't know where to find a trustworthy commercial real estate agent, or they don't understand crowdfunding. there's a whole variety of ways in which your idea cannot become a reality. And we want to do everything that we can with Startup America and some other partners we haven't announced yet to help people's ideas become reality. Now, this creates shared value because not only is it sort of a corporate citizenship activity that does good for society, we hope, that fits into our public sector overall mission, but we hope that some of these ideas create new things that become Windows 8 apps or business partners for us in education or in health, where we do a lot of business, or new nonprofits that we can work with. So we think that there'll be some diamonds in the rough that legitimately become Microsoft partners, and some of those might be national or international, and some might be very hyper-local, and that's fine. We have offices in a lot of places, and we have partners in a lot of places. And then a lot of it will not directly benefit Microsoft, but will just generally benefit society, and that's
Just to follow up on that, so if I wanted to partner with Microsoft and I'm in New Jersey, is it that I contact somebody locally in New York or the tri-state area at Microsoft? I mean, how would I go about either getting involved in something that you're doing or letting you know something that I'm doing? Maybe I'm a small business organization.
Yeah, so there's not like a Staples one big red button that you can push, and we're a complicated company and we're not perfect, but there's a few different ways. For example, if you go to the BizSpark website, there is a button you can push that says, hey, am I eligible? If I am eligible, how do I sign up, right? Okay. So that is kind of push button, and it doesn't really matter where you are. It's digital. You can do it on your phone, whatever. In major metropolitan areas where there tend to be a lot of tech-related entrepreneurs, New York City, Washington, D.C., Santa Monica, and so on, we have people whose entire job it is to do outreach to the startup community and encourage them to use our cloud computing platform, encourage them to make apps, whatever their particular goals are, but basically to work with us in some way. And they're incentivized specifically to do that, and especially on whatever our cutting edge platforms are. Now, that said, those people can't be everywhere. We tend to concentrate in certain metro areas. So if you are in a place that doesn't have those kind of Microsoft resources, maybe you haven't heard of BizSpark, we hope that this new Think and Act tank is a different way to connect with people, where they can more freely share ideas in this forum without us necessarily being firsthand involved, right? And then some of those will filter up and become partners, whether it's through BizSpark or some other way.
Bryan, I have a quick question for you. You mentioned that Entrepreneur of the Year program is in 26 markets. So how do small business organizations or local colleges or universities or even small business owners, how could they get involved in the Entrepreneur of the Year program at a regional level? Sure.
So just to be clear, we are nationwide, but we end up sort of in 26 celebrations in June that kind of blanket the country. But we would love to have entrepreneurs in the room. Nominate yourself or have a friend nominate you. Nominations open in January. If you want more information, it's ey.com/US/EOY for Entrepreneur of the Year, and you'll find all the information there. A lot of you are in what I'll call sort of support or influencer organizations, and whether that's accelerators or incubators or other sign of community groups. And it'd be great to have you make the companies that you're aware of. Startup America we work with as well, and certainly information on how to get involved in these programs is on the website for their speed up and ramp up companies as well. But basically, the nice thing is it's a regional program that starts there, so you can, get recognized, celebrate your team in the region, but then build through the social media concept. We have a private winners network that the 8,000 winners in the past are part of, so you can connect with other winners literally around the world now, because that's a global link. And we have alumni programs that work for regional programs, so the opportunity to get together either in a larger setting or in a forum type setting with another 8 or 10 CEOs and entrepreneurs to kind of grow your business. So there's a lot of benefit that happens at the local level, and we're continuing to add to that every year. And I think that's really one of the strengths. And whether you're an entrepreneur or you're an organization supporting entrepreneurs, we'd love to have you get engaged in the program. Cycle starts in January.
we actually went to the event last June, and the energy and the excitement at it was Palms, right? Palm Springs. It was just magnetic. We were actually there just kind of looking, and we were still thinking about our own strategy, but the overwhelming energy and positivity was second to none. So I would definitely recommend people kind of checking it out. EMY, they run a very, very good program. Very good program.
A lot of people flew there on American.
I sure as hell hope so.
Including me.
I sure hope so.
All right, Ben, you want to interject?
Yeah, one of the, to go back to one of your earlier questions, one of my favorite things about my role now at American Express is that I'm housed not under the corporate philanthropy and not under the corporate social responsibility, but housed within the business. Because I think that's a really important way to look at driving social impact in local communities and local businesses and businesses across the United States, is that sometimes when they're in philanthropy, when they're in corporate social responsibility, the programs become siloed. And what I think is interesting is when the social impact and the business objectives are aligned, I think you see much more long-term sustainability and you see more buy-in from the actual organization. So it doesn't end, it keeps going and it keeps getting stronger. And so when American Express Open is looking to do these programs on the ground with different organizations, what we're really looking at is not one-off sponsorships. We're not looking at just funding an organization to do their own thing. That's a different realm. What we're really looking to do is come up with some co-collaboration, co-projects where we can be identifying barriers for small businesses, identifying barriers for startups, and then coming up with ideas to overcome those barriers and really create breakout moments in ways that wouldn't otherwise be available.
So that brings up actually a good question about this co-collaboration, and maybe Hal, you can help answer this. What should business organizations do to prepare, for the opportunity to work with Infusionsoft? So okay, I'm a small business organization, I'm a small business owner, I'm a nonprofit. I see an opportunity to work with you, so that I put the best foot forward. What are you looking for from your small business partners so that that first meeting isn't a misstep?
I'm probably, again, the outlier a little bit on that, because we're small enough that if you call me, we could do some business. And it's pretty simple that way, but we have focused locally on partnering with chambers. We have partnered with them in a couple of ways. We've said, hey, could our software help you be more effective in obtaining more members to the chamber? So we offer that. And then we don't have a lot of capital as we grow rapidly that's available to just put money into things. But what we do have is a vast amount of knowledge about small businesses, and particularly around marketing and sales. And so we've partnered with several organizations by providing education around that topic, materials and education for these associations to share with their members. So that's one way we've done it. What we look for in partners is somebody that understands what small business means to us, which isn't under 500 employees like the government defines it, but true small business, which we look at as kind of 50 and fewer employees, typically owner-operated small businesses that are very local, and not always local, but often local. And in terms of how we look at that, we want to make sure that membership or that customer base looks like that for us, and also that they kind of have similar values to us as our corporate values. That's very important to who we are. One of them is to empower entrepreneurs, and another is that we believe in people and their dreams. And we want to make sure that that is clear about the way we do business fits with our partner. And in most cases, we don't find many that aren't, but we want to make sure that we have partners that do the right thing and understand how we're trying to help small business.
Questions?
How's it going? Scott Bailey at Mass Challenge. Just a couple of things that I thought were kind of important, and a couple of you are actually some of our partners, but one of them was the ability to connect to other groups within your corporation. So like at Mass Challenge, maybe we're working with American Airlines, or and like they'll, even if there isn't a direct connection to the finalists or something that they're talking to, it's being able to connect them to marketing and maybe getting them featured in an American Way or something like that. Exposure is so important to startups, and even if there isn't something that is immediately relevant to the company, I encourage you to try and think about how you can further connect them to other people that there might be relevant connections with. And then the other one was getting more collaboration between corporates in general. Like we have, we're mainly supported by corporates like American Airlines, Microsoft is another big partner, Verizon, and what I'm trying to do is bring more people together, and I'd love to see, like just hear comments on how you guys might be able to bring more of your programs together and collaborate more. So just curious about that.
I mean, I'll just jump in really quickly. I know Daniel's going to have a heart attack, but internally we call it our blue ocean strategy. We have not externally, kind of put that in the marketplace. And it's much of an externally facing strategy as it is internally. American Airlines is huge. I mean, we're 88,000 employees. We've got, a multitude of departments, the Advantage program, for example, marketing, maintenance and engineering. And getting cooperation and collaboration internally is a Herculean effort, even on a really good day. Having said that, one of the things that our team is really responsible for is really creating that conversation. Going to the different work groups and basically getting their buy-in, not just with budget, but really with access. So, Mass Challenge is a great example where at least 3 or 4 of their companies that I can remember have kind of approached us and said, American Airlines, we would love the opportunity to work with the Admirals Club. And we create that conversation. And, however it develops will be based on what our ongoing business needs are. But I think that's yet another way that we kind of work together.
Let me interject real quick. How much does social media play a role in facilitating those conversations? Because I've seen it a lot, like on Twitter, where you want to connect with somebody at a large corporation, and it is amazing how quickly they will respond to you. If you call on the telephone, it might take a little while. But if you put it out there on Twitter, the response is lightning fast in many cases, not always. But in your roles, how do you see social media being a facilitator in the communication with business organizations and nonprofits and academia in terms of connecting with them at local, regional levels?
I mean, at least for me, this strategy, as we look out 5 or 10 years from now, we're not going to be able to handle every single conversation coming to just myself and Daniel and some other people on our team. I think social media will have to be kind of the intermediary to allow us to know that there is a need or a want that's out there that wants to be kind of plugged into the organization. I think our speed to market or ability to communicate and connect within the organization, that's the capacity building that I'm referring to. In no way, shape, or form am I saying that we are it's a seamless operation. We had to get buy-in from our senior leadership, considering the fact that we're still very much in a restructuring mode. But the fact that we're coming out of restructuring in a short while, we've got a new brand. So there's a lot of excitement that I think we'll generate out there. Mm-hmm. And Jonathan Pearce, who is our director of social media, I know he on his side is also building out his team, not so that the Twitter or the Facebook responses to operational things, oh, you lost my bag, etc. But it could be one of you, instead of knowing who I am, you can say, I can go to aa.com/innovator, and that could be your conduit into our company.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll just say, I spent a long time on the other side of the equation, and I, in some ways, just to be a little bit counterintuitive, I like the idea that it's sometimes challenging to find a good entry point into a corporation, because it really makes you refine your message and really understand the pitch you're making and the audience you're speaking to. A lot of times, I think that's part of the process of really refining your whole business. So, I really encourage people to be creative, to be persistent, and to know that there are a variety of ways that you can find and start a conversation with a corporation, whether it be social media, email, or waiting outside their apartment building. And I can tell you I've done all of those things. And
don't ever go outside my apartment building.
Yes, well, yes. Now that I'm on the other side, please don't do the last one. But I do think it's important to really be persistent, but also be precise in what you want and what you're asking for. I think the worst thing that someone can do when they're coming to a corporation is just kind of like throw the kitchen sink at them, because I can tell you already that does not resonate. And the other thing I'll just mention, working this interaction between nonprofits and smaller businesses and corporations, is to be patient. I think that, again, having run my own company for 4 to 5 years, I'm moving at a lightning pace. I'm making decisions on the fly. I'm very nimble. But you have to understand that corporations, for a variety of legitimate reasons, cannot do that and cannot work that way. And I think it's being patient, don't take it personally, and work within that system. And I think then you'll have the best results.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who uses social media a lot, I think the answer depends on the company, the industry, and what you even mean by social media, right? And I think to a large degree it's overrated. I mean, if you make apples and there's a razor blade in one of your apples and someone tweets you, you're on top of that, right? But if you just tweet Microsoft that you have a great thing coming up and maybe we should sponsor it, it's not going to be that effective. And who knows who you'll get on the other end. And it really depends. And oftentimes when I get these sort of vague introductions made to me, I always have to ask them, what are you asking me to do? What is the ask? Because if there's no ask, there's nothing I can react to or tell my colleagues about, right? So you have to be incredibly specific about what are you actually asking us to do in exactly what time frame. And that kind of conversation basically cannot happen on social media. That's email, that's in person, that's on the phone. So I think social media is mostly overrated for this kind of business partnering type thing. I think it rarely is how it happens.
Did you want to add something?
Yeah, I think we use social media, but I would agree with your comment that it really varies depending on the business purpose and who the audience is. I think we tend to see a lot of sort of our entrepreneurial customers and clients, people who go through Entrepreneur of the Year, probably their vehicle of choice is more likely to be a LinkedIn, kind of connection there because of the business environment. But certainly when we run our conference, similar to this out in Palm Springs, we'll have Twitter feeds. We have a video booth we're putting together this year so that everybody can come on and do, social media communications directly from Palm Springs and use Facebook and Twitter and, everything else on that. So I think it really depends on the audience, the purpose, but clearly, you can't help but use it. And certainly when we go away from entrepreneurship and step into other parts of our firm, like recruiting on campus, we use it extensively.
Thank you very much. I'm Chris Brown. I'm the Executive Director with Build, which is a youth business and college success accelerator. My question is, how do you all look for new opportunities with small and medium-sized nonprofit organizations, community development organizations in terms of engagement, who might not have the bandwidth to do as much outreach? And then secondly is, how are you promoting a spirit of collaboration between organizations in different local markets associated with the types of work that you like to support? Thank you.
Well, I can maybe handle the collaboration part. I mean, we have, with our programs, a number of organizations who serve as partners and sponsors. In some cases, those are cash to make the program better. In other cases, those are people who, help use the program to recognize companies or who, provide other kinds of services as part of the overall offering. So, I think we do a lot of collaborating with others that are in the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And as I said earlier, any of you that are in the room that know entrepreneurs that ought to be plugged into one of those programs, we'd love to work with you all as well and get them engaged in January.
From American Express's From American Express's perspective, I think Small Business Saturday is a really great example of collaboration. I know that in 2011, there were more than 230 small business advocate groups involved and more than 90 corporations. So that was something that came from American Express, but that we really opened our arms to other corporations and other entities to get involved, because this is really not about American Express. It's about driving economic success in the United States, and that takes a lot of different entities. I think the other way that you collaborate is by finding ways to disrupt the conversation and hoping that other corporations and other entities are in fact going to copy what you're doing because it's so innovative and so powerful.
Microsoft does some of the things that were already mentioned. A lot of times, one thing I'll add is that we work through surrogates. You know, we just can't simply deal with every single local nonprofit and every single tiny business. We have some online tools that helps, but a lot of times we will work with big national community organizations, big national nonprofits, other kinds of national business partners that can distribute things like Windows licenses or whatever we're doing to those groups where we just can't possibly deal with everyone. I mean, as big as we are, if you looked at the actual number of community, community outreach people, corporate citizenship people, it's a relatively small number. And we might have one lead person per city and maybe some vendors that help them directly. So we work a lot through partners, and sometimes these kinds of requests will come in directly and we'll have to feed them back out to a partner like that.
Yeah, to echo on that for American, I mean, obviously we do a lot of, kind of community engagement, particularly in the nonprofit sector. I think about some of our partners, Susan G. Komen. That would be one. That's a longstanding partner of ours, and obviously we've had a longstanding relationship with them. I think the conversation's changing a little bit in terms of understanding their customer base and maybe the entrepreneurs that reside within their ecosystem. So it's very much of a kind of a referral system, at least for the time being. The last thing I would say is that we also have business development managers. Traditionally, their job is to kind of sell, if you will, but they're also becoming a great extension of our collective effort on the SME space. So they're out there. A good example would be Groupon. Mm-hmm. Groupon came to us 3 years ago, and we had no idea who they were. And it was basically a manager in Chicago that thought their concept was interesting and cool. And Groupon went from spending $10,000 a year on us, now they're spending north of $1 million. So it's kind of a success story of, hey, there was different ways for us to kind of support and also identify entrepreneurship out there.
That's fantastic. What we're going to do now is we're going to engage with the corporate organizations and look at this partnership from their perspective. And so what I'd like to do is I want to summarize some points real quick, and then we'll start with quick introductions. And then I want to get the audience engaged a little bit more, too, about opportunities, about how we can all work together. But I think there were some very cogent points that were made in the first part of this panel discussion, and that is, that social media, it sounds like, is not the cure-all for, connecting with large corporations. It might be a quick introduction and you finding a point person, but it sounds like the traditional channels of making a phone call, stopping by an office, or maybe sending an email might be better. But I hear this a lot too, whether it's procurement, government procurement, or with large corporations, is that if you're going to ask them for something to sponsor or partner with you, that it's key that you have all your ducks in a row. That you know specifically what you want to ask for. Don't be afraid to ask for exactly what you need, and you'll find that in some cases, if they have a similar vision, you'll find a champion in that corporation to help you. So that's great advice. So thank you very much for that first panel.